The year is 1893, and the British Empire stands as the most powerful force in the world, its reach extending to every continent. London, the heart of this global dominion, bustles with the wealth of trade and the hum of industry. Yet the divide between opulence and poverty grows ever wider. Victoria remains queen and empress, a figurehead for the empire that thrives on ambition but rests uneasily on the backs of its colonies. In India, the seeds of dissent quietly grow, while in Africa, Britain competes with other European powers for dominance in the so-called scramble for Africa. Across the Atlantic, the wounds of the Civil War have yet to fully heal, with racial tensions simmering in the south and memories of bloody conflict still fresh. Yet the frontier spirit endures as the Wild West begins to fade into history. Railroads crisscross the nation, boom towns rise and fall, and immigrants pour into cities like New York and Chicago, chasing dreams of prosperity, but often finding crowded tenements and relentless factory work. Amid this, America's industrial might grows, cementing its position as a rising power. In Europe, the old order clings to relevance while the forces of nationalism and modernity press even harder. Britain, France and Germany vie for global influence, with Paris continuing to dazzle as the city of light and Germany asserting itself as a newly unified empire. The Austro-Hungarian Empire struggles under the weight of its many nationalities, while Italy seeks to solidify its identity under unification. In the east, Constantinople glimmers with a blend of European and Middle Eastern cultures. The Ottoman Empire, long referred to as the sick man of Europe, fights to maintain its crumbling territories and relevance in an era of encroaching imperial powers. The fez, a symbol of Ottoman identity and reform, is increasingly contentious. Once an emblem of modernization under Sultan Muhammad II's reforms, it now carries political weight. Wearing it in certain circles signifies loyalty to the Sultan, while discarding it can suggest opposition to Ottoman rule or sympathy with European influences. Constantinople's streets echo with these tensions. Its bazaars and mosques, a backdrop to society navigating the edge of tradition and change. Back to London. In 1893, London was the capital of the British Empire. It was the world's largest city. London in 1893 is a city where wealth of the British Empire flows into opulent townhouses and bustling financial districts, while slums in the East End teem with poverty and hardship. The foggy streets are alive with the clatter of horse-drawn carriages and the hum of new electric streetlights as the city balances between Victorian tradition and industrial progress. Towering landmarks like Big Ben and St Paul's Cathedral remind all of Britain's grandeur, while markets like Covent Garden and Spitalfields bustle with activity. The Thames winds through it all, a lifeline for commerce and a backdrop to the daily lives of London's diverse population, from aristocrats to industrial magnates to workers and immigrants seeking a better life. So some images of London in 1893 I'm going to share with you, just to give you a flavour of what London's like. There's Piccadilly Circus. There's an old crone selling matches. We've got a picture of Tower Bridge under construction as it was in 1893, not quite finished. Believe it or not, the Tube existed in 1893.
I do.
Baker Street Station hasn't really changed much. But yeah, London, 1893. Your friends, the one connection that you all have is that you're friends with somebody called Professor Julius Arthur Smith. And he's a friend, and he's actually the person who sets the 1920s campaign in motion. But this is the prequel. And in the 1890s, he's 30 years younger. He's slim. He dresses in the fashion of the day, and he cuts quite a dashing figure. He's only recently been made a professor, and that's a considerable achievement at such a young age. He works for the City of Guilds College of the University of London, and he's got an office at the headquarters in South Kensington, and he's a member of many associations, but his preference is for the Oriental Club where all the boys go. He's an avowed bachelor. He lives alone in St John's Wood, and the house was left to him by his family. He will meet his wife later on in life, but right now he's a bachelor, he's a young man, he's enjoying the bachelor life. He's recently been touring in the East, and he was in Constantinople and Anatolia in the summers of 1889, but he's now come back to London, and rumour has it that something occurred in foreign parts that sent him home. He had some kind of encounter, and he refuses to talk about it. Current interests are in anthropology, history and literature, and the occult, and he's a bit of a debunker. Goes around debunking all these stories about ghosts, Loch Ness monsters, and he's very like a James Randi kind of down to earth, scientific.
Like a Conan Doyle, yeah.
Socially, you hang around with him. You probably drink together, spend your weekends hanging around together. You know him socially. We'll start with Gary Walter. You sit at the edge of a ship's cabin, fingers drumming lightly against the wooden desk, the rhythm only stopping when you catch yourself doing it. The Atlantic crossing should be exhilarating, step towards the unknown. But unease clings to you like damp wool. The cabin creaks with the shifting of the waves, and the occasional groan of the hull sets your teeth on edge. It isn't the ocean that unsettles you. It's not even the journey. It's the knowledge that something was in your luggage. The briefest glimpse before you slammed the trunk shut. Long, spindly jointed legs curling into the darkness. You tell yourself it was a trick of the light, a frayed thread. But still, your luggage remains locked, untouched. You shouldn't check. There's a knock at the door. You're startled, and your pulse spikes. You exhale. You rise from the chair. You're here for knowledge, a chance to learn something new beyond the limitations of your Wilmington laboratory. Whispers of a breakthrough, a theory that could change everything, have led you to London. The details are murky, the source unreliable, but you cannot ignore the possibility. You've spent too many nights staring into the edges of the known world, aching to push beyond them. Whatever waits you across the sea, you intend to find it. Would you like to expand on that a little bit?
Gary Walter is a university professor in the field of science, namely physics. Although looking at his stats, I kind of made him a little too well-rounded. His stats kind of suck, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, he specializes in the field of science, physics and chemistry. So with a little dabbling into biology, not a lot, but he's been trying to expand his portfolio. He has knowledge of first aid. So I would argue that he is kind of exploring kind of like quack science that was so popular in the 1800s. It's like charcoal amenities or all those snake oil type crap. He's just kind of studying medicine, and this breakthrough that he's been hearing about, which has brought him over here, seems promising. So he got a professional leave to engage in field research.
You likely met the professor through academic circles. You're probably drawn to his work debunking supernatural claims, and you're probably intrigued by that, and you're heading over to London. Amelia?
Yeah.
Amelia, she adjusts her gloves. She idly checks the stitching for any signs of wear, habit drilled into you during your early lessons in discipline and refinement. Appearance must always be maintained, of course, especially when one carries a name like Meadowcroft. But your thoughts are not on the fine leather, nor on the expectations that you've clung to you like unwanted suitors. No, your thoughts are on something far less tangible, the nagging, persistent itch of restlessness. Eyes follow you, some curious, some sceptical, but a few outright disapproving. You've long since stopped caring. To them, you're a curiosity, an oddity wrapped in fine tailoring, and the Meadowcroft name. They expect a lady of leisure, a daughter basking in the reflected glory of her father. They expect obedience, but you give them nothing. You smile when necessary, play along when it suits you, but in the end, you're no one's possession. The world is vast, and you intend to carve your own path through it, with or without their approval.
I mean, I met Professor Smith in Bulgaria. He was in a bit of trouble. He was mistaken for an English spy, and I was able to use my charisma and charm to get him out of a tight spot. She's currently refusing every decent marriage proposal coming her way. She's not really ready to get married. She doesn't want a life of conformity. So there's a lot of societal pressure. She does have a private income, so she is just trying to get out of the country at this point to avoid everyone moaning at her for not getting married.
Next, why don't we move to Percy, the American. Percy Throne, the American. So, from the details that you gave me, this is what I came up with. Percy keeps his elbows off the bar, keeps his drink slow and measured, keep your mouth running just enough to let the gentleman across from you know exactly what you want him to think. Now I tell you, back home we got buildings so tall you'd think the sky was trying to climb 'em right back, you say with a lazy grin, letting your accent just thicken a little bit more than usual. The Englishman smirks the way they always do, amused at the brash American spinning another tall tale. Good, let him. You lean back, rolling your shoulders slightly to ease the dull ache beneath your coat. The scar there burns at times, a reminder of things left behind. The war, the heat, the choices you made, they stay buried. But the act, the mask that stays on. People make mistakes when they think they've got you figured out. You take another slow sip of your drink, already thinking ahead. You play the brash American because it's easy, because it keeps people looking the wrong way. But beneath the laughter, beneath the drawl masks and theatrics, you remain what you've always been, a soldier and a survivor.
Yeah, you understand him better than he's willing to let on. Almost anybody. He's currently in England because his rich uncle knows of his consumption and said, "Well, I mean, you got to get over to England. There's this place called Bath. They actually, have a lot of health organizations there and old Roman baths and everything like that. But when I got here, it didn't really work out there. And London, oh my, it's the most polluted city on earth. I mean, at this point, they say it's fog, but no, it's pollution. So for a man in my health, I think as great as the professor is, I think I probably need to go back home, maybe get back to the desert. Although I'm certainly willing to get involved in some quack medicine if any of us have any ideas, right? And we all know that liquor helps a lot. So I'm drinking a lot lately. It helps a lot with your health. Cleans out the system, right?
We've got Ezekiel left, Ezekiel Baptiste. Ezekiel, you sit hunched over your battered notebook, its pages warped from years of handling, the ink smudged where your fingers have lingered too long. By dim lamplight, you trace the same impossible lines again and again, your pencil pressing harder with each pass. The tesseract looms from the page, but it's wrong. It's always wrong. You can sketch its angles, its folds, even the way it seems to shift in your mind's eye. But the fourth-dimensional truth of it always eludes you. A dull ringing builds in your ears, drowning out the present, pulling you back for the moment. Its shape is screaming, your mind is splitting open like an old parchment. Ezekiel, a voice cuts through the haze. A hand settles on your shoulder and you flinch. You're doing it again, Ezekiel, he says. Voice is gentle, but edged with concern. You exhale sharply, closing the notebook with a snap. The cannon, he doesn't press, he never does, but the weight of his unspoken worry hangs between you.
Yeah, back when I was 25 in seminary, there was a shining, screaming tesseract that suddenly appeared above my bed. I put it down to mental illness at the time. I was very anxious and very curious about the world, but in a very paranoid way. But the tesseract appeared every night for exactly a year afterwards. And ever since, very quickly lost any faith in God and in organized religion at very least. And now I'm trying to work out what I saw, but above all, work out why me.
You both know that the faith is slipping through your fingers like sand. The cannon refuses to let you go, but you're not sure if there's anything left to hold on to.
I tend to navigate social situations by using my apparent religious affiliation, but secretly I'm completely faithless.
So you probably got to know the professor for his perspective on your own unsettling encounter, hoping his skepticism could offer you a rational explanation, and you enjoy intellectual sparring with him. So, to start this adventure, you're all sitting around, enjoying each other's company in a bar or a club or a pub or some kind of social occasion, and an urchin hands you a note. And you open it.
Sorry, he hands me a note.
He hands you a note, yes, across the table.
Excellent. I'll go on ahead and give him a shilling, and go on ahead and what's this about? I don't often get communications, especially from urchin. I'll go on ahead and take a look at it.
You open it up. And you can see a piece of paper. It says, "Message from Professor Smith. AM at 5 Drurid Street, Whitechapel. For God's sake, come. Bring a gun. Julius Smith."
I'll bring two.
Is that for all of us or just for him?
I think I judge it to be for all of us.
Yeah, Gary Walter scoffs at this. He's like, I've never shot a gun or needed to shoot a gun. I don't have a gun, for that matter. I should like to think that disputes
okay.
be resolved.
I have two guns. One for each of you.
Very kind of you, but I prefer to shoot my own gun, thank you.
I don't need a gun. Thank you, though.
Don't mind firing guns, but I wouldn't know how.
That's my same
Well,
problem as well.
Yeah, I mean, I know the professor was happy when I came across him on that street, and the incident happened that he swore me to secrecy about. He was pretty happy I had the weapons then.
Yeah, he probably sent the message to you knowing that you normally carry.
Excellent. But I'll certainly tell everybody. And it's like, anyone want to go to Whitechapel around 5 a.m.?
Oh, it is ghastly, but it'd be good to see the professor.
Yeah, you all know him quite
I mean-
well. He should be with you drinking, but he hasn't turned up.
There hasn't been a Ripper murder there in quite a few years. I think the last one was 1892. It was reported. Well, in 1892, they were still thinking the Ripper was out there. When of course it was just other serial killings. But having said that, I think we're going to be fine. How many hours is that from now?
You're sitting around in the evening, so if it's 5 a.m.
Yeah. So plenty of time to drink in, sober up, and go on ahead and get this accomplished, right?
Absolutely.
So it sounds like we're all
Amelia's
committed.
going to say, so it says 5 a.m. He's asked us to come at 5 a.m.
Yep, 5 bells, right?
Okay. Bring a gun. I mean, I don't know. There's part of me that thinks that we should maybe try to arrive earlier.
Good call. Yeah, I think you're right.
What time does the pub close?
The pub will probably stay open until at least 11 o'clock unless you get a lock-in.
Well, I think I'll sit and with some form of tonic water until I'm kicked out, if you don't mind.
Is there? I mean, okay, so it's like AM 5 Durwood Street, Whitechapel. For God's sake, come bring a gun. Is there anything we can glean from this message at all, like from the paper? I mean, I don't want to try. I don't think I've even got psychology skills, but I mean, is this the way that he would usually write? I mean,
He's normally quite reserved, and for him to write "God's sake," he would not normally write that kind of thing.
Right, so he's not given the melodrama. Okay.
He's being melodramatic or he's stressed.
Ooh,
Or...
having understood that, I'm more concerned than I was before. So
are we
Kabuya
trying to
is
just barrel
what do you think?
around there now. I mean, I mean, if it's only 7 p.m. at night, it's like 5 a.m. What foolishness is this?
It appears to be a very finely printed note.
It's on his monographed paper. It's definitely from him. It was done in shaky writing, and it looks as if he's been holding it in one hand and he's written it on the palm of his hand hurriedly. It is a very quickly written note, and he's given it to an urchin. Quickly, boy, take this to the Tanner's Arms and hand it to my friend, Percy Thrower.
Is the urchin still there?
The urchin walked in, he went to the bar, asked the barman if there was a Percy thrown here, at which point he could hear the American laughing from the other side of the bar.
I'm just wondering if we say, like, wait, boy, you got to give him a little tip as well, haven't you? So I'll give him a little tip.
Oh, I did. I gave him a shilling.
It's fairly common for urchins to carry notes in for people, so he hands you the note, he puts his hand out and expects you to give him a penny in return. It's as common as hailing a taxi.
Yeah, I was just asking him, what did he look like when he gave you this?
You're asking, you want to grab the urchin? Yeah, the urchin's still there, yeah. What did he look like, madam?
Yes,
the urchin
boy.
says. He was chain-smoking cigarettes. He was shaking. He was very upset.
I'll give him a
Well,
little shilling.
Yeah.
He looked like he was having a nervous breakdown between you and me.
Was the door to his house open?
It was ajar, mister.
Well,
Can
you know,
tell me,
Amelia,
on any information?
He was standing outside the house smoking cigarettes. The door was open.
well, I'm buying what Amelia's selling now. I think we should hail a hansom and get it over there.
I don't see the point in delaying. Plus, I hate an early start. Let's just get this over with. What does he want?
Yeah, fair enough. I think we should go. I think we should do it.
Yeah, seems fair.
You're going to grab a hansom cab, horse-drawn cabs.
They are.
You hail a cab of the time, which is a hansom cab. It's horse-drawn carriage. There's a chap in the front, and you all pile in the back. You head over to Whitechapel. Whitechapel is quite a dangerous place. And
Yeah.
people like you, looking quite respectable and smart and clean, will be targets.
Even a clergyman.
Well, the clergyman, not so much, but definitely Amelia and Gary might draw a bit of attention. Percy would as well, but Percy's armed.
I'm also armed, but they wouldn't assume I was armed, so yeah.
You head through Whitechapel and onto Durwood Street. You tell the taximan, Durwood Street, my man. Durwood Street is a narrow, poorly lit street boasting some ramshackle houses and a horse slaughtering business. Harrison, Barber & Co. at the far end of the street. There's a boarding school for the poor, and this street used to be known as Buck's Row. The south end of the street is where the body of the first Jack the Ripper victim, Polly Nichols, was found in 1888. But that's not relevant to this campaign.
Wow.
Fog and shadows blanket everything. figures loom out. They're normal people, but they look quite intimidating and scary as they loom out from the darkness. But they're just normal EastEnders going about their business. Once you arrive in Whitechapel, you can see Smith, your friend, pacing agitatedly in the doorway, looking up and down. He looks very pleased to see you. This guy is stressed out. He's like, thank God you're here. Smith is overjoyed to see you, and he quickly ushers you inside. He says, come inside, quick. He explains nothing to you. He throws his cigarette on the floor, stamps it out with his foot, and he ushers you to come inside.
What did I spot?
You think you can see a man at the far end of the street standing in the shadows. As you see him, he quickly moves out of sight.
I'll whisper to Piercy that I just saw a man watching us from the distance. When he saw me look at him, he went and hid.
Well, they're all over the place looking to see if we're an easy mark. I wouldn't worry too much about it just yet.
Like
well, after the professor shows us whatever he is, I suppose we can go investigate.
Smith ushers you in. He throws his cigarette on the floor, stamps it out. Come in. You've got to see this. He walks in the door and he talks to the landlady that's standing there, and you see him pushing money into her hand. As you walk in, you can smell old fish, offal, curdled vomit. He motions you to come up the stairs. You walk up the narrow stairs, rotten, soft boards squishing as you walk up them.
Is this where he lives? Like, do we know this address?
Is it Julius's address? No, it isn't. Julius lives in St. John's Wood, I think.
I was wondering why he's slumming it in Whitechapel.
No, it's not. No. This is somewhere else.
This is just a random place that he's called us to. Okay.
And he leads you inside this room. He ushers you in, and the smell is getting stronger. Awful, sick, fish, rotten. Inside is a scene lit by 2 candles and wooden candlesticks. You see a wasted man on a small sagging bed in a black cloaked figure standing beside him. Scraps of old food and discarded notes and pieces of paper make it look as if someone has been here for a while. The bad light, however, makes it impossible to see properly.
I will finger one of my Remingtons, but not draw just yet, and move closer.
I'm going to ask him, what the hell what is going on here? And with the tissue up to my nose.
The stench seems to be coming from the man on the bed. He looks ancient, withered, and near death. He is naked, except for some stained underwear. Strangest of all, the man wears a fez upon his head.
Whoa!
The cloaked figure standing nearby comes forward, and he introduces himself, holds out his hand. He says, hello, I'm Dr. Nels Hobbs. I'm a medical man. I'm often called on by the Metropolitan Police. You're looking there aghast. You're trying not to gag because of the filthy smell coming off the man. The cloaked figure is actually a police doctor. You're all standing around like, what the? And it stinks. You're looking closely. What the hell? He is in fact in his 20s. Closer examination reveals at one point the man looks as if he's been bound to the bed. You can see strap marks on his wrists and his legs. You're in this room. Your friend Professor Smith has called you over here. He is apoplectic.
I'd like to say, are you okay? What's happened?
4 days ago, a well-dressed fellow around 40 with silver hair, a top hat, and a swallowtail coat offered Mrs. Grimm a handsome amount for the room. Soon, men in vezes had dragged a semi-conscious man into the room. Only the top-hatted man came and went. On the second night, weird sounds afflicted the tenants as if the building was filled with whispers. Tenants also reported strange shadows on the landing. By the third night, there was shrieking and thumping, and the top-hatted man appeared and offered more money for the landlady's convivance, saying he had a drug-addled addict brother. He was trying to cure him. He was going cold turkey. But by the fourth night, tonight, things could not be ignored. Shrieks of agony burst from the room, and unearthly noises, rattles and thumps shook the whole building. The landlady sent one of her tenants out into the night to call the police. The man in the top hat and the men in fezzes must have seen the policeman come and fled, leaving only the old withered body on the bed. The police came and called in a doctor. Here, Mr. Hobbs. While Dr. Hobbs was examining the man whispered the name of Professor Smith and then passed out. So the police have called me, and that's why I'm here.
I gotta tell you, Professor, I don't think he's gonna make it.
I think I may know who this man is. I believe he's a student of a friend of mine.
Well, when was the last time you saw him? This guy looks like he's been dying for a year.
I've been in correspondence with my friend about this. I'm worried about the men in the fezzes and whether they were going to return.
Can we get a description? Do we think it might have been the weirdos that were looking at us when we got off the hansom?
Could be.
If they were wearing fezzes, it might have been silhouetted.
Maybe we should move him and guard him. I think the men in fezzes represent a terrible threat. We need to get out of here and take this man somewhere safer. Mr. Hobbs, the doctor, is leaning over the man. I can't work out medically wrong with him. I think he's suffering some kind of wasting sickness, but I can't quite work it out. He's got this strange fez stuck on his head.
I can tell you a little bit, Doc, about the wasting sickness known as consumption. This man's not dying of consumption. That's for certain. I wonder what kind of wasting disease this is.
Look here, and he points at the fez, and you can see the flesh, where the fez meets the top of his head, is growing into the rim of the fez, pushing through the hair.
Oh,
So it's like they're joined, they're sealed.
I guess you're right in that we need to get him out of here, Professor, but I got to be honest with you, I'm not touching him. I don't want to catch anything, and well, anything additional.
You can see the fez itself is the colour of old dried blood, foul-smelling and dank-looking, as if it was soaked in a sump of oil and then dried out. Its surface is shot through with strange symbols that seem to lie under the surface of the fabric itself and twitch and writhe in the candlelight. The doc puts his finger up to his mouth. Shh, listen. You can actually hear a strange, sibilant whispering. Very clearly seems to be coming from under the hat.
Oh my gosh.
It also seems to emit a low hum.
Can anyone understand what it's saying? I speak Aramaic, but can't really hear whether it's Aramaic or something else. Okay.
Aramaic? Oh, they
Well, I
speak that in
understand
France?
German, French, and English.
The symbols that seem to be like flickering in and out along the rim where it meets the flesh, they look similar to early hieroglyphics. You bend closer, you can hear the strange sibilant whispering. It speaks in an utterly alien language, utterly alien syllables, and they very clearly seem to be coming from under the hat.
Are there any patterns to it? Repetitions? Similarities?
You begin to feel a little bit nauseous as this sibilant whispering echoes through your mind. The man on the bed, struggling, gasping for breath. And all
Gary will shakily ask, has anyone tried shooting whatever this thing is or removing it? Maybe it's the thing killing him.
Maybe when we get into safety, a surgeon can have a look at it.
As you're having this conversation, the man on the bed suddenly utters a tortured shriek. His body heaves, he gives a horrible death rattle, and then the instant he stops breathing, the fez drops off his head and rolls onto the floor with a thud.
Gary immediately runs out of the room when he sees that.
Yeah.
Nothing,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
nothing lies beneath the fez. An indented ring of raw flesh parting the man's hair is the only sign the thing was affixed to him. The fez stops emitting any sounds. It rolls around like an egg underneath the bed. Dr. Hobbs leans over the man to check that he is dead. As this happens, the candles go out, as if a great shadow rears up and plunges the room into darkness. Hobbs shrieks and is grabbed by the dead man, who bites down on the doctor's face.
Well, I'm ready my weapon.
And this zombie-like figure erupts from the dead man's corpse, and he bites the flesh from the doctor's cheek, exposing his teeth and his jaw. He also bites off part of his nose and his lips. This long, extended tongue flicks out with barbed ends like a tassel, and it flicks out towards you.
And he said the candles went out. Is there any light?
Bit of dim light coming in through the windows, just enough to see.
So you're saying there's a target?
The flesh ring around the head of the creature swells and elongates, and it takes on the form of a fez, pulling the flesh of the face as it does. The features become distended, and they're pulled up into a perpetual scream. The tongue rolls out of the mouth and hangs down as long as a necktie. Its end is frayed into sharpened barbs. It bears a strange resemblance to a fez's tassel. The creature will kill everything living until it's destroyed. Okay, so this thing bursts out of the dead body and it bites off half the face of the policeman, who screams, lets out a scream.
I ran out of the room.
You did?
Yeah, because the hat rolled off somebody's head without being prompted to. This is already weird.
Did you have any readied weapons?
I said,
You know,
I declared
you did.
weapon.
I'll
When
draw
the
my
thing-
weapons.
When the thing started happening, I said, I'm ready my weapon. But I think, Percy, you must have higher decks than me anyway, I think. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, we don't roll initiative, do we? We just go in dex order.
So if you open the combat tracker, you will see that Percy and Amelia have their weapons readied with a little red dot beside their initiative.
Yeah, okay, very good, yes. So my understanding is twin revolvers. The second one is
With a
with a
penalty
disadvantage
dice.
dice, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the first one, 29, obviously a hit. And
Jumps up and you instantly return fire.
and I'll roll the second one and then roll a disadvantage die. So it's either going to be an 80 or it's going to be... So it's 80, yeah. So the second one certainly misses, but the first one, I just double-click on damage. Yep, there we go. Yeah, 6 points.
This thing comes up It hisses, it bites off the cheek, the lips, and the nose of this police officer. It turns around and Percy Thrower starts shooting at it. Amelia, what would you like to do?
I think I'm going to do 3 shots. So, I always forget this. Do I have to roll the penalty for all 3 shots?
First one's free, and then everyone after that is a penalty dice.
Okay.
So this is your first shot, and it's a hard success. So do you want to roll damage? You're firing a revolver that you carry on you.
Yeah.
Percy shoots it, and then you blast it, doing a major wound. You've like blasted an arm off or done major damage.
Okay, so now 1 penalty die.
Take another shot with penalty dice.
I was going to say, I don't like the fact that this gentle woman went on ahead and did much better than I do. Definitely a hit to my pride.
Oh, and that's another success.
Well done.
Bang, bang from Percy, bang, bang, bang from Amelia, and the creature drops dead, falls silent. The doctor is screaming with pain. He's got half his face ripped off. Professor Julius is like, oh my god, let's move him. I'm going to take the doctor to the hospital. I'll meet you at the Oriental Club tonight.
Want me to call the law?
Well, as I heard gunshots, I was already about to run down the stairs. But when I start hearing shooting, I immediately think to go down and get the police.
Nice. We'll get this guy to the surgeon. Or maybe even the nearest hospital, right? I'm going to tell myself it wasn't a zombie. If that's okay. Frantically hailing a cab. Well, I hope we can get one at this time of night in Whitechapel.
And you take him off to the nearest hospital. A couple of hours pass. You head to the Oriental Club to meet up with Julius.
Yeah, I need a drink. Is the Oriental Club going to allow her in? Well, special circumstances, I believe.
Well, no, they won't actually. The Oriental Club was founded in 1824, and it's open to noblemen or gentlemen who have travelled or resided in Asia, Egypt, South Africa, Mauritius, or Constantinople, or who have worked for the government on behalf of the Eastern Empire. The entrance fee is £31. Subscription is £8 and 8 pence. The club is at 18 Hanover Square and has no windows above the first floor. It's decorated inside with portraits of famous people from the East, and its symbol is the Indian elephant. The club's library boasts over 4,000 volumes on Oriental topics, and the club is very sedate and conservative. Investigators of lower orders or who are women will not be admitted, and even those who have the required gender and status will be expected to comport themselves as gentlemen. For members, it is an excellent resource for gaining contacts and information regarding the East. Just for your info, the club is still going, and they have been admitting women since 2010.
We would know this already, wouldn't we? And Smith would know that I can't go there. So I don't know whether it's worth saying that I would have stayed with Smith at the place then while the other guys went. Let's just say I stayed with Smith, because then I could maybe get chat to him or whatever, and then
I need to ask about this lower orders business because my credit rating is 18.
Oh no, you in the ghetto.
Didn't you say you were?
But you're a professor.
Yeah, but I'm not a rich one.
Well, yeah, but you're still a gentleman. You know, you just have to behave yourself, right?
Well,
then again, you're probably not very well dressed.
You're meeting in the cafe around the corner because you've got a lady with you, Amelia. Smith is clearly shaken by this, and he goes home and he's getting sheaves of documents and some telegrams, and he's explaining to you that he's been in contact with a professor in Constantinople. That doomed man was indeed a student called Matthew Pook. He's sitting in the cafe waiting for you, and he's clearly shaken. He's got a sheaf of telegrams on the table in front of him, and there's a chocolate and peppermint striped hat box in which he is keeping the fez.
Oh my, how did he get it inside the box? Did he touch it?
He scooped it into the box without touching it.
Sensible.
That thing needs to be destroyed.
Burned, definitely.
He says, there's been some interesting developments. Let me share these with you. And he pushes a couple of documents across the table. A couple of telegrams. The first one, Professor Demier's first telegram. Initial telegram from Demier to Smith. Have been keeping tabs on cult activity. Stop. A man named Manka has come into possession of a terrible item known as the blood red fez. Stop. He is travelling to England on some mysterious purpose. Stop. One of my students based in London has volunteered to follow him and report. End message. Telegram from Demir to Smith. My student Pook has elected to try and steal the fez. Stop. I have warned him. Manka is dangerous, but he will not listen. Stop. I fear for his safety. Stop. He has your address in London. Stop. Please aid him if you can. End message. Smith explains that he sent him a telegram and he sent him an immediate response. The fez is very dangerous, impossible to destroy. On no account wear it. Have trusted allies bring it by all speed to Constantinople. Will use what knowledge I have to destroy it. Warn them, in no uncertain terms, their lives may be at peril. Smith looks at you. I would take it myself, but I dare not go east again after I fell afoul of some people in Turkey.
I'm rather embarrassed to say, Professor, but I'm a little low on funds at the moment. Well, I'm waiting for a transfer from my uncle. I don't think I could afford to go on ahead and go across continent.
The inscriptions underneath the surface, are they visible to the naked eye?
Yeah, you can still look at the fez now, and you can see strange symbols and things moving around at the bottom of the fez.
And are they clear enough to be written in my notebook?
You can certainly attempt to, yeah.
So, Professor, what makes you think this thing just can't be burned here and now? What's this talk of destroying it in Constantinople?
We have discovered that it is impossible to destroy the fez. My friend Demir believes that only he can destroy it. He knows some kind of ritual. I would have dismissed this as absolute rubbish, but you saw as well as me what happened last night, didn't you?
True. I mean, it not being able to burn does not comport with my experiences in life, but then again, neither do tentacles coming out of a emaciated man, so
I would guard against
taking what you're saying seriously.
He said I would guard against even trying to damage it. He said just even touching the thing can drive a man insane.
So some sort of valise that we can put the hat box in might be in order.
Yes, and whatever you do, do not put the hat on. Pook put the hat on and he could not take it off. It seemed to drain him and suck the very life out of him. My friend Demir says it's very important that the fez be taken straight back to Constantinople, where he can have it destroyed.
Well, I think I can guarantee I'm not going to put it on my head. That's a promise.
Gary raises his hand and offers, perhaps we could encase it in some sort of glass or something of that nature.
Beware, he says, I suspect that those shadowy figures that were following you have been lingering around maybe after the fez. Fez must be taken to Constantinople at once, especially while these strange people are still in London. And presumably, yes, the man with the top hat, whoever he is.
Well, what's your recommendation how we get there? Perhaps by ship?
The fastest method of travel would be the Orient Express, but it's very costly. You may be in luck. I have engaged the help of a wealthy Austrian ally. He's called Baron von Hoffler, and he is himself a noted occultist. He has said he will meet all the expenses of the trip, and he will meet you in Vienna and travel with you to Constantinople.
Well, I guess I've run out of excuses to not participate, so...
He's another person I've been corresponding with. He lives in Austria, and he's a great occultist. He believes he has information on the fez that will prove invaluable, and to that end he said he will foot the bill. I told him I would not be able to go myself, and I may be sending some friends in my absence. I can only speak very highly of him as a fighter of evil.
Then I guess we better book some passage.
And is he sure that he can destroy it? Or does he want to destroy it?
Well, I have my friend, Professor Demir in Constantinople. He believes he can destroy it. And there's also the Baron, who's going to fund your travels on the Orient Express. And he believes he has information on the fez that will prove invaluable to this end.
Question, out of character. Would I be able to make a chemistry check to see if I would know of any resins that were, or resin-like substances that were available at the time period to try to encase the fez so it's not accidentally worn?
My character has an occult specialty. I propose that we put a piece of parchment inside next to it, depicting an abracadabra reduction triangle to reduce any magical seepage that might emit from the artifact.
A parchment with some symbols
Yes.
on that would absorb any bad
Absolutely.
vibes, yeah.
Got a kooky hat and a target on our back, and we've got to get to Constantinople.
Yep, I'm signing on.
Smith says, I've already spoken to von Hoffler about this, and we've agreed to secure tickets on the very next Orient Express service. It leaves Paris on Wednesday night.
So what day is it now? Like,
Today is Saturday.
okay.
So he explains to you take the connection from London on Wednesday morning that goes via Calais and arrives around 10 p.m. to meet the Orient Express out of Paris. So you go to Calais and then you meet another train. Smith concludes that the cultists ran when they knew the police were coming, but did not have the wherewithal to remove the blood-red fez from the student's head. He suspects they're still out there.
Yeah.
But we all need to be careful as well, because there's a good few days between now and departure. So
Oh, yeah.
we need to be. We're not running away now, are we? We've got to stay alive till Wednesday.
Yeah.
There's a number of avenues in London you could look into. So,
Do you mind if I go ahead and throw that chemistry check for you? See if I know of any.
Yeah.
That's the third 98 of the night. I hope that's not an indicator of things to come.
So you've got a couple of days to kill in London before you catch the train. It's not the Orient Express. You're going to get a train from London to Calais, and then from Calais to a little town just outside of Paris.
So do you think we should hole up in a hotel? Or do you think we should just get to Calais now and then wait in Calais, where it might be safer? And Calais is a lot smaller than London, right?
And then you can wait for the connection there, and you might avoid anyone who's waiting for you on the train. Yeah, great thinking.
Yeah, good idea.
I agree.
I'm okay
Should
with that.
we hide the hat in a third location?
Well, we can't separate ourselves from the hat, I don't.
Sorry,
The
go on.
problem is that Gary Walter is not proficient with any weapons. He's not a fighter. He's a researcher. I rolled pretty bad on the stats. So
I mean, that's not a problem.
No,
I don't want to say I'm
it
here
is.
to protect you, but you've got your own gifts, so not a problem.
And I'm good at shooting anyway, so we've got two shoot. I can't remember what Andrew's character was.
Gotcha. So it sounds like we can take some out-of-the-way trains to go on ahead and get to the. I guess it would be a ship going across the channel, not a ferry. I don't know if ferries were a thing.
I think we need some
Back then.
first aid kits. I'm gonna stock up on boxes of ammo.
hmm Everything I own in the world is in my well-oiled saddlebags. I think I'm probably okay.
I don't have a saddlebag / suitcase.
Easy enough to get. And I imagine we'll want to go get dynamite because that's what you guys always wanted to do.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about dynamite just yet, but maybe.
Oh, no,
I'm not insane enough to start suggesting that.
Smith is going to sort out your visas, but you might not be able to take firearms across the border. You can try and
Oh,
stash them in your
yeah.
luggage.
You're damn right. No one's taking my pistols from me.
I'm
No way.
really
Expect
mining.
there to be checks at the borders, but don't expect them to be rifling through your personal luggage unless they suspect something. So there's a certain amount you can get away with, but machine guns probably
no.
not.
Yeah.
I've just got
Only my
handled
pistols.
I've just got some revolvers, so
And
So-
as a tourist, my paperwork's already worked out.
I'm getting boxes of shells for my gun, and I think maybe we need to get a few first aid kits because clearly.
How much for first aid kits? Or are we hand waving that?
You can just grab one because you need to make a medicine roll anyway.
I'm pretty sure it's a doctor's bag at this time.
The timetable would look like this. On Wednesday, it will be Paris to Strasbourg. Wednesday morning, about 10 a.m., you'll get on the train from London, and then you'll get to Paris, I believe around 10 o'clock at night. You'll be boarding the train. So you get off your train and you get on the Orient Express proper in France about 10 o'clock on Wednesday. Overnight to Strasbourg. Thursday, you'll be Strasbourg to Budapest. Friday, Belgrade to Bulgaria. And Saturday, you will arrive in Constantinople.
I think we should do some research.
Yeah,
maybe
there are
not me because I'm not a
facilities, yeah.
researcher, but I think maybe could we go to a library and get some general information about these fez hats in general? I don't know. I think we need to do a little bit of research before we go.
Noted down some of the symbols on the hat.
Yeah, I could probably do some research in a library to see if there's any like folktale or like Arabian Nights type mythos surrounding fezzes doing weird things.
And the
Off
best
to the
place-
British Museum, huh?
So,
Unfortunately, they're not going to let me in there.
Would I be able to be admitted because I'm a professor from the United States?
You're
I'm
an
a friend.
academic, and you would have exactly the right credentials to get into the reading room.
I was going to suggest that we're a friend of the professor, but
So-
your idea is much better.
The reading room hasn't changed much. In 1893, it's like a data center. Closest thing you've got to the internet. It's humming with people. What are you looking at?
Fezzes and folklore, Middle Eastern folklore.
Yeah, maybe see if there's reported stories of a fez that, burrows its way into people's heads, right?
Give me a library use roll then, please.
I think it's obvious I'm not there. Bless
Okay,
me.
you can spend half your luck to succeed if you'd like.
What? I didn't roll chemist. Oh wait, yeah, here we go. Regular success.
Could I rip out a page from a notebook and give it to Gary?
Gary, You know what a fez is? It's a red hat with no brim and a tassel on top. Some
Yeah.
versions are truncated cones, and others are more cylindrical, and it gains its name from a city in Morocco, where it was first made. It is part of the national dress of Cyprus, and it's synonymous with the Ottoman Empire, and it replaced the turban in 1828. There's also an urban myth that exists about the blood red of the fez, symbolising Islam's defeat of the Christian world, but this is just spurious. It's very easy to find in the British Museum, basically under F. You're going to have to use some luck if you want to find any more than that.
Could always hire a scholar to go in and help us, right? Some young and upcoming academic, give them a couple of pounds to go on ahead and help us look, right?
Doesn't sound like a bad idea.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's some young, hungry academics there in the reading room. How'd you like to make a few extra quid there?
I could try and fast talk someone into doing it.
I'm pretty free about spending your character's money, but
You're going to have to give me a fast talk roll or some kind of persuasion to get a young, hungry student to spend a day researching fezzes, and see if you can cross-reference anything with either the strange symbols that Ezekiel's written down or anything to do with stories about wasting diseases or fezzes that adhere to people's heads. Spend a little bit of time chatting to one of your acquaintance, maybe somebody you know. Maybe
somebody I've refused to go on a date with, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. You're going to slink over there and...
charm him with my feminine
wow. You're going to charm him with your feminine charms. And you get some young, thirsty bloke to spend the day researching fezzes for you.
He wants to impress you.
Amelia spends most of the day chatting to one of her boyfriends, so he actually comes back and gives you this. Extracts from the Apocrypha of the Fez. On the history of the bloody fez, you find this information in an old tome. The blood-red fez was ever an evil thing, made in the name of unspeakable powers so awful no sane man would even set down their names. First, the fez was spoken of in the Ottoman court around 1550, but some suggest it is even older than that, dating back to ancient Greece. It was said to have the power to control men's minds and destinies in thrall to some ancient old before time. Drinking, bathing in, or simply spilling the blood of a prince while wearing the fez is said by some to bring princely favours of the dark gods, and by others to be the key of immortality. But such dark entities may view their principalities differently to our own. A warning. Pay heed to this warning, that wearing this abomination called the blood-red fez will bring calamitous ruin upon one, as one renders one's soul and one's mind to the unearthly will of the fez and its terrible masters. Only those most skilled in the ways of the dark arts can hope to survive such a thing, and for them, perhaps, the price is even more terrible. It is possible to control the fez and even halt its terrible purpose. Seekers after dark knowledge should consult the book The Whispering Fez.
Would I be able to make a separate library use check to look for this Whispering Fez book?
Certainly can.
Or even get help from a librarian.
Yep. Regular success.
I'm going to make that a hard success just to make sure we get some valuable results. I've reduced my luck to 82. That's 18 luck points to make that a hard success.
No copy of the book The Whispering Fez can be found in London. There are references to it appearing in the Ottoman Empire in the 1800s, but it was suppressed. Copies are occasionally known to turn up at auctions. That's
auctions in the UK or auctions in...
The UK is a global hub. Everything and anything goes through the UK.
Should we just hightail to Calais, or is there any value in, I don't know, going to some auction houses and having a look at past catalogues and maybe seeing if one's been sold recently and then, I don't know, breaking in and stealing it from whoever bought it?
I think we should hightail it.
Okay.
It may be prudent to contact Smith before we leave and let him know of our findings.
Yeah.
And then...
he can keep an eye out, maybe, for a copy.
Yeah, and then hightail the hell out of here before we're supposed to leave, quote-unquote supposed to leave, so as to throw off our possible chasers.
You're not going to get the train that you should be getting? You're going to avoid that?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so. That would be a good idea.
Yeah.
We can always send him a telegram to let him know what we found.
So you should prepare for your trip to Constantinople. The Baron has wired money to Smith so you can get your tickets. Smith contacts the Turkish embassy on your behalf to secure travel visas for Constantinople.
Is anybody going to ask, when does it become Istanbul, not Constantinople? Or are you going to leave it to me?
I think it's going to be like, no, I'm guessing 1930. 1927. Yeah, because I think that's when the empire fell, wasn't it? So when the Islamic Empire in Turkey, that's when it kind of ended, wasn't it? So it probably got changed very quickly after.
You're supposed to travel to London from Victoria, and then you go to Calais, get a steamer, and then travel to a little town called Chalon-sur-Main, where you get on the Orient Express proper. You're supposed to depart London's Victoria Station at 10 a.m. on the morning of Wednesday, but are you not doing that? You're going to get that train, or you're getting a different one?
No, we are getting to Calais if we have to get there on a bloody boat, a small boat, to row us. If someone has to row us there.
So you're going immediately, is that what you're saying? You're not getting there?
Yep.
That's the plan.
I'm going to swim. I'm planning on swimming the
You're going to
channel,
cover yourself in goose fat and just get in there.
So definitely, I think that we've agreed to go as soon as possible.
Yeah. We're not following.
So you're not
we're
waiting,
not following-
you're not spending 3 days researching, you're spending a day at the British Library, you're doing what you've done, and then you're going 2 days early.
Because we might as well assume that these people are already following us. They know that we're probably going to get on that train, and
There's only one Orient Express a week, and that leaves Chalon-sur-Main on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Hey,
You're gonna
I've got
go
an
there,
idea.
like 2 days early and hang around, yeah?
Yeah.
I've got an idea, guys. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I've got an idea. How about we pay some people to look like us and get on that train on Wednesday to throw off our pursuers?
I mean, we could do,
Well,
but we're putting those people in danger.
Very good. Yeah,
We
that's
gotta
just
pay
what I
them,
was thinking.
I mean, we're going to have to pay them, and I'll pay them with a gold pocket watch, which is worth quite a bit of money.
See
I
what
won't be
you're
able to
saying?
tell
So
time.
If they're ruffians, they'll probably go along with it if we forewarn them of the danger. They'll probably be like, "Hey, that's a gold pocket watch. We'll take the chance."
I'll barter with a gold pocket watch and a box of fancy cigars.
No, those were for me. Remember?
Well, I mean, I'll take out a
Counted
couple
as
cigars for you,
consumption.
but we could
Okay.
barter if we need the funds. I don't want to spend anyone else's money for them, but that's what I'm willing to do to pay someone to look like us on that day.
I mean, I have ethical issues with that because I think those people are going to end up getting killed.
Tickets have been booked in your name on that train. So if anyone was to follow you or want to off you, they would be thinking you were on that train. Right now, there's going to be like 5 empty seats on that train.
That's why I think we should hire actors and let them know of the danger, of
So,
course.
yeah, you don't even have to hire actors, really. You could just give people your tickets. They would be, for all intents and purposes, you.
Yeah, because all they're going to have is that rough description of us, I guess, from that
And
night.
probably your
The
seat
rest will be
reservations, and they'll see those people
followed
sitting in
by-
your seats.
Yeah, we could do that too. But I still think bartering with a gold pocket watch would be a good bargaining chip.
I mean, if you want to get rid of your pocket watch, then I'm not going to stop you. But I think
Hey,
there's
you-
people
you-
that would just take the tickets and think, "Fuck it." Oh,
Well, I mean, if you
Ally.
want to put your gold pocket watch into it, it'll definitely work, and you'll definitely get a result.
Right, but
Yeah.
didn't your grandfather give that to you?
Grandfather. He might well.
I could be mistaken.
Yeah, well, I mean, I will admit that it is something that I splurged money on when I first got into the profession of being a professor. I saved quite a bit for it, and it means a lot to me. But this undertaking is quite hazardous, so I would consider it a prodigious risk to not, shall we say, engage in precautionary measures.
Well,
Oh,
I've got
I
time
agree.
money. I think maybe you can keep your watch. I think my credit rating's 50, so I think that means I can spend
Oh,
the
yeah.
equivalent of like 50. Is it like £50 a day without going broke or something?
Well,
It's
my
something
gold
like
pocket
that.
watch is worth $35.10, so that's quite a lot of money back in those days.
But if we wanted to do it properly and find people that look like us and actually, then
How
that was
much
going to
effort-
take you
yeah,
a couple
so
of days.
Are you
But if you're
going to
just
buy
gonna
them
give out your
clothes
ticket,
that look the
then-
same, or are you just going to give people your tickets?
Yeah, I mean, just so they look roughly like us. Buy them a
The
new
right
outfit,
sex, the right
and
sex.
then there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and gender and race and
Yeah.
height.
Well, I insist you find somebody who can do a proper American accent.
So,
no,
yeah,
no,
that's brilliant.
I don't insist that.
So you're sending a surrogate band on the proper train, and you're going incognito a couple of days before then.
Yeah.
There you go.
Correct.
You alleviate yourself of your pocket watch and you give it to a good cause. You manage to persuade your family who want to go on holiday, and you give them a free set of tickets, and they're going to be occupying the seats that you should be going in.
And they get my nice gold pocket watch, which I've just deleted from my inventory.
Fantastic.
Represent giving it to them.
And we are going to warn them that there could be danger, so they need to look out, right? We're not going to...
Of course.
Okay, good. We're on the same page. All right.
We would advise them to travel armed in case people try to do anything or try to rob them of this watch or something like that.
No, that's some bullshit.
Yeah. Bring your cautious with you, gentlemen.
You're just giving them a standard travel disclaimer there, Zin. No.
Come on. I mean, I would have at least made the argument that the gold watch is not
potentially targets.
Well, that's why they're getting paid. I mean, that pocket watch is worth a lot of money to a poor person from Whitechapel.
Yeah, this is a very poor area of town. This is a poor part of town. I mean, if we're already targets because of how we look, a gold watch would definitely make you a target. That's worth a fortune.
Okay, Zins, yeah.
Consider the exchange rates. American dollar was quite powerful back in the day.
No, the pound was. It was $5 to a British pound in the 20s.
Oh,
so
never mind.
The pound is definitely the lingua franca for the world, so to speak.
And wasn't it like 5 English pounds to an Egyptian pound or some shit as well?
Whoa.
Like, I feel like
Wow,
there was a time...
that's wild. I didn't know that.
I feel like there was a time when Egypt's currency was really strong. But anyway, yeah, that's a diversion. But okay, so we're sending them on their way and we're skulking out safely, hopefully.
Now we'll see if our plan survives contact with the enemy, right?
Oh, you know what? We should have also put a fez in their carry case.
Yeah, just a normal fez. Yeah, I gotcha.
Some fez with some gross shit. Yeah, we pay maybe pay a little bit of money for a gross ass hobo to wear it and get his nastiness all over it, and then put it in the suitcase. That way, when they they think they have.
If you have him wear it, it'll be even more obvious.
Well, no, I mean we put the nastiness encrusted into the fez. We don't actually make them wear it. We just have it in their belongings. So if the guys do steal it, they'll open it up and at least initially think they found the real thing.
Gotcha.
Throw them off our case.
So you've given them a gold pocket watch. You're paying somebody to get on a train, and you're making them carry a fez with them.
Yeah. That's been worn by a nasty-ass hobo.
No, sorry. I got a bit distracted then looking at that Egyptian pound thing there. But hold on, what? We're not giving the fez to these people.
We're not giving them our fez. We're giving them a fez that's counterfeit to look like.
Oh, right, okay, we've got a decoy fez now.
Decoy
fez. Sorry.
Yes. It's worth it.
I was reading Wikipedia on the Egyptian pound, so sorry I got distracted. But right, okay, sorry, continue. Yeah.
Your journey to the station begins in the shadow of imposing townhouses with wrought iron railings and polished brass door knockers. Horse-drawn hansom cabs clatter along the cobblestones, the lamps flickering dimly in the damp fog. But as your carriage ventures deeper into the city, the genteel veneer fades. The smell of soot and sewage hangs heavy in the air, mingling with acrid tang of gas lamps that hiss softly as they illuminate the narrow streets. Hawkers cry their wares, their voices competing with the rasp of violins played by one-legged men, and children in ragged clothes dart between carriages, their hands outstretched for money. The closer you approach to the railway station, the darker and dirtier it becomes. Smog-blackened buildings loom overhead, and puddles of filth pool in gutters. You hear the hiss and the smell of coal smoke and hot metal steam, and the great iron locomotives line up along platforms on this icy morning in 1893. The cavernous station echoes with a cacophony of voices, hawkers shouting the latest newspaper headlines, and porters calling out destinations as they weave through the throng, and the rhythmic clatter of boots and heeled shoes against the stone-cold floor. And there's a picture of King's Cross in 1893. There are gentlemen in well-tailored suits and ladies in high-collared dresses moving with measured urgency, some trailed by servants burdened with trunk and hat boxes. A harried mother struggles to wrangle a gaggle of children, her face pinched with worry as she glances at the towering station clock. Labourers and clerks, dressed in rougher coats and flat caps, jostle their way towards the second and third class carriages, warm air bellowing from their mouths like steam. Their voices are raised in good-natured banter or gruff complaints about the morning's work. The shrill blast of a station guard's whistle cuts through the air. The final calls for boarding echo down the long platform. Porter hoists the last heavy cases into a luggage cart with a grunt before hurrying to another passenger, waving frenetically. There's steam swirling around the wheels of the trains, and engineers are making their final checks, and impatient horses stamp and whinny outside the station, where cabs continue to drop people off and pick people up. What class are you going in?
I'm only familiar with the first class travel with this brother.
I suppose since it's on not on our dime, first class makes sense.
So the third class carriage is very basic. The second class is a little bit better, but first class exudes refinement and exclusivity. As you step on board, a steward in a crisp uniform politely checks your ticket and helps you stow your luggage in a dedicated compartment. He tries to take the hat box off you with the fez.
I politely decline and say that it's sensitive research work. I must handle it in a special means.
I understand, sir. Inside, the carriage feels like an extension of a private club. Upholstered seats in fine leather or plush velvet are arranged in spacious compartments, each adorned with carved wood panelling and brass fittings. Thick curtains frame the windows and small shaded lamps cast soft glow over the polished surfaces. The air is scented faintly of lavender and leather polish, and the murmur of conversation is subdued. Passengers in first class are well dressed, many in tailored suits or elegant dresses, quietly perusing newspapers or novels, whilst others sip tea or coffee from delicate china cups brought by attentive staff. The journey promises to be delightful. You take your seats and you're quite smug, thinking that you may have thrown anyone off that's trying to follow you.
We look around and make sure that nobody was following us.
You've taken every precaution possible to throw them off your trail. You're all fairly confident there are no suspicious Arabs in red fesses trailing you on the train.
Excellent. Well done. Good plan.
The train shudders as the great engine readies to depart, and soon, with the final hiss of steam, the rhythmic chug of the wheels, the journey to Dover and beyond begins. The train pulls out of Victoria Station with a gentle lurch, and soon the sprawling mass of London begins to fade into the countryside. The air inside the carriage is warm and comfortable, the scent of polished wood, fresh upholstery, and faintly lingering coal smoke mingling with the perfume of well-dressed passengers. The rhythmic clatter of the wheels on the rails creates a soothing cadence and a constant reminder that you are steadily moving towards the continent and France. Outside the window, the landscape changes from the smog-choked streets of the capital to rolling green fields and quaint villages. The church spires rising over red-bricked rooftops. Afternoon light spills through the glass, glinting off silver tea services as stewards move smoothly through the first-class carriages offering refreshments. A neatly uniformed attendant places a tray before you laden with freshly brewed tea, delicate finger sandwiches, and a selection of pastries. Eventually, you arrive at Calais, where you change and you depart to a place. It's called Chalon-sur-Main. So you step onto the train in Calais, and you find the carriages warm and inviting, just the same. The scent of fresh varnish and linen fills the first-class compartment once again, and quickly the rhythm of the rails becomes hypnotic as you steadily clatter towards your destination. The food is exquisite. A preview of the culinary delights awaiting you looks delicious. Beyond the windows, the French countryside rolls past in the deepening dusk as it gets dark. Dark silhouettes of farmhouses and vineyards bathed in moonlight go past your windows. The train glides through small towns where gas lamps flicker on empty platforms. Glimpses of quiet lives briefly illuminate before vanishing into the night. Inside the train, the atmosphere is one of quiet refinement. You're wrapped up in your own thoughts, and there's gentle murmuring in French, English, and the occasional German accent.
Midgets and brown people.
Two midgets covering one desk.
In my mind now, it's three midgets in the trench coat.
But this time I was just listening in because I was too entertained by your midget's conspiracy theory.